I've had my ups and my downs.
Phelps with 10 meters left. 3 minutes too good. The crowd roaring. Freeman wins gold.
I think it's an absolutely breakthrough experience.
Welcome to the Physical Performance Show, the show designed to inspire the pursuit of your physical best performance. I'm your host, Brad Beer. Listen in as we delve into how the world's top physical performers achieve their success, as well as the highs, the lows, and the journey of getting there. Let's get ready, set, let's go.
Listeners, welcome along to another episode of the Physical Performance Show. With me today, I have one of the most symbolic athletes, I think, going around through the time of surf lifesaving, and that's Hayley Bateup. So, Hayley, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brad. It's great to be here.
Hayley, I like to start with a hairy question straight out of the gate. What's one thing that scares you?
Oh, wow. Far out. I was actually having that conversation with someone yesterday when I saw something on the show. It's going to sound really weird, though. It's the thought of, someone capturing you and then putting you underground and locking you up. Well, you gave it to me. You asked me a question because, a lot of people say they're scared of sharks or they're scared of spiders or something like that. And I was actually having that conversation with someone yesterday because I saw something on TV and I'm like, the thought of someone keeping me captured. Yeah.
So, and not underground.
Yeah.
Are you claustrophobic?
No.
Because you've had plenty of MRIs over your career.
Yeah, I'm not claustrophobic at all. And training for the fire service, I had to do a lot of crawling, through tight spots in the dark or whatever. I think it's just the thought of someone capturing me. Yeah.
And you said sharks. Over your years in the surf, you must have come across some good shark. Got some good shark stories.
Yeah and no. There's like a couple of sharks I've seen in all the years. I've been in surf life saving. I've only seen a couple of sharks, so probably more so I'm scared of blue bottles.
Blue bottles.
Yeah, so you picture being out, say, a couple of k's offshore, and then it turns into a northerly, and then all the blue bottles come in and you've got to get to the beach. So if you're paddling a ski, then they end up flicking on your back, or if you're swimming, then they're just all over you. So they're horrible things. I think with a shark, if unless you get eaten or bitten by it, you just go to shore and get away from it, kind of thing.
Is there one shark story in particular though you've seen in all your years of training and competing?
I've been out and I've just seen kind of one pop up and then go down. This is like years ago. So that was a bit scary. And then other times I'd be doing a paddle back where you get dropped off, say 20 k's away, then have to paddle back, and you get back and it'd be pretty much night time, and then if you're on your own, you start to think, a bit shark, or your arms in the water, and you start to think about it. As soon as you start thinking about it, it's all over. So so that's not good. But actually I saw one in Bali one day. I remember surfing and paddling back to shore, and I could see this girl on the beach a fair way away, and I'm thinking, what's she doing? She was taking photos of shells. And I'm trying to work out what she's doing. And as I was squinting, looking at her, then I saw a shark come up, do a spin and land in the water. And I had to kind of go that way to get in. So that's my other story about sharks.
So that's your sharks. Now, Hayley, you had a long and illustrious career with multiple highs through that time. What would be your one most memorable favourite success in the sport of surf lifesaving?
I've probably got 2 or 3, but my first one would have to be when I first won the Australian Ironwoman Championship. I did that at 21, and that same day, the other 2 finals I was in, I won those as well, which was the board race and the board relay. So that was my most successful day in my Ironwoman career ever, and I did that a couple of hours really after my grandma passed away. So I'd been at hospital and she had died, and I was really close to her, and I pretty much went to the beach the next morning with no sleep, and then had the best day racing of my life, I think, because I didn't really care, I just went out there and didn't worry. I just went out there and attacked it and didn't think, I've got to win this, or I've got to do this, or I've got to do that, and just went out and had a perfect day racing. So that would have to be probably the most memorable. And then also racing amongst 8,000 other competitors on the beach, and then getting the competitor of the carnival as well. Then probably the next one was the first time I won the Coolangatta Gold, because that was a race that I always wanted to do, and it took years for them to bring that race back in. So it was a good, I think, 10 years they went without running it. So I was looking forward to racing that, and then I won that first one for the females. So that one, and then the third one was, I think it was probably the second or third time I won it. I had the most perfect race. So it was just one of those days where I didn't make one mistake. Everything came into play. I felt awesome in every leg of the race, and then the last run leg I could just enjoy it, and I remember it being a perfect day and just running along the beach, enjoying, taking in, high-fiving people along the beach, running back to surface. So that's just that race, that feeling I have of that one.
And Hayley, you mentioned the perfect race. Could you look back at that race and still feel like there was a leg that you could have done better, or literally that was me at my best moment?
Yeah, no, that was me at my best. I just made all the right moves. Even my swim, for me, I think I was third fastest or something in the swim, where at that point swimming wasn't my best. I was the fastest runner, the fastest swimmer, the fastest ski paddler by times, and even that last run I wasn't even pushing because I had a big lead. I could just enjoy it. I remember my coach saying, you can do what you like now, you can go faster if you want. I went, no, you know what, I'm just happy, just enjoying this pace. So I was still running fast anyway.
Yeah.
And I think, down to turning the can, putting in some good strokes, and a wave's there. A lot of the time you'll do that, and then something will happen and you'll end up in a hole, and then someone will pass you. It's just one of those days where everything was working for me.
Went right. And for listeners, we touched on the Coolangatta Gold with a previous interview with guest Kane Eckstein, but Hayley, for overseas listeners not familiar with the Coolangatta Gold, describe the event itself.
So the Coolangatta Gold in Surf Lifesaving Ironwoman Ironman event, it's basically the toughest race in surf lifesaving, and it's like a long race. The distances have changed, but pretty much 20k ski paddle. There's a 2k run, a 10k run, 3k swim, and I think 6k board paddle. So yeah, it's a hard race, both fighting yourself, but then and your competitors, but also the elements, the ocean, big waves, against wind, soft sand, hard sand. So you just don't know what the race can throw at you.
Yeah. I've done the run leg in it by itself, and it was hard enough run into a headwind, so let alone doing that with a couple of litres of salt water in you from swimming around for a few Ks. And
that's it. Yeah, I had it 1 year, I think the first year I won, and it was straight into a headwind on the ski, so big chop, and I was actually rubbing my hands together because it made it a tough race. And that time in my career that I didn't have a shoulder problem then, so the tougher the race, the better. So I was actually really happy it was like that, and I won that day.
Fantastic. And then Hayley, how did you get started in the sport of surf lifesaving? How did you start?
So I got started by my mum was actually going to aerobics with another mother, and her daughter did nippers at Northcliffe Surf Club. And before that I was doing little athletics, did a little bit of gymnastics and just other school sports. And for me, I guess I hadn't found what I really loved. I was really good at running, but it wasn't my passion. And this lady told my mum, bring Hayley along, she'll love it. Northcliffe had nippers on a Saturday, and Mum said, okay, perfect, because Sunday was their day, family day. And she took me along to nippers there, and I just loved it. Day dot. First day I got there, I had to do my S badge, which meant I had to go out, swim around the cans, come back in and do a run. And I hadn't even swum out the back in the ocean, and did it and passed the first day. And then, I'd loved it ever since.
Do you think your mum's friend knew what she was doing? introducing you to the sport?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Yeah, I ended up racing a daughter and beating her by the first year. So maybe she probably didn't like that much. But just, I guess her mum saw the potential in me and that I would be good at that sport. And yeah, and I think there's a few things I could have done, but just having that love and the passion for the ocean and just loving it so much, and you know, my mum struggling to get me out of the water, that's how she knew that was the sport for me.
So you started at what grade of school approximately?
So that would have been probably grade 6. I was 12, so it's a little bit later. A lot of kids start at, they start at 5 and in the water at 8, 9.
Yeah.
But I started winning medals straight away. First year I won state medals.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And up to that point, Hayley, at 12 years of age, being a natural athlete, I imagine you would have had some school type interests / success in different sports. Tell us about those.
Yeah, well, pretty much I used to just run the 800 metres at school. I'd do all the other races as well, but I won the 800 metres from every grade of my whole schooling. And then I represented I went to Aussie titles for 3k and cross country, and got second at national titles for the last 2 years of school. And again, I used to just do a little bit of running at school, and then one year I thought, I might go to the next stages, and next stages I started to win, and again, without any training at that point.
Yeah, wow. So you're always just natural. And this was up until the age of 12, and then
this is
into the later years of school.
Yeah, I'm talking the later, even at school. I was doing surf lifesaving, but wasn't really running, just beach running.
Yep.
But the fitness from swimming and that, I could just always naturally run without training. So yeah.
And you grew up on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
So schooled on the Gold Coast?
Yep. I was born on the Gold Coast and school here. So, I could have probably gone further with my running, but, I didn't find it as enjoyable as going out and catching waves at training.
And so in those early years, Hayley, were there any athletes in the sport of surf lifesaving or other sports as a young up-and-coming athlete you really looked to?
Yeah, definitely the two would be Carla Gilbert and Ren Corbett were the ones I looked up to. They were probably 5 to... Ren Corbett's probably 7 years older than me, a bit more. And then, Carla Gilbert, 5 or so. I looked up to those girls because they were, the best at the time in the Uncle Toby's. They always had this rivalry, the two of them, and it was during an era where it was pretty much just them two. Like, it's changed a lot now. There's a lot more coming through, and it's not just one or the other winning. But back then it was those two fighting it out, and I looked up to them. I remember them having sponsored cars and all the cool stuff, and how good's that? I want to do that. Yeah, so
they were a big inspiration.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And at what point, what was your first year in the series? Because your first year in the series at that era was Uncle Toby's?
So the girls, I was in Uncle Toby's, but the girls did Devondale. So it was part of the Uncle Toby's Ironwoman series, an Ironman series, and the girls' sponsor was Devondale. So, the first year I got in was 96, so I was 16. And, I was the youngest with one other girl that year. So, I hadn't even told Mum I was trialling. I just said, I'm doing this race, and she took me down and I trialled, and top 10 got in and I got 10th.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool. And then as the years, I was in the professional series every year from there on.
For how many years after that debut?
So that was 96 to 2013, I think, was when I pulled out from my shoulder.
Yep.
So, I think it was like 15 to 17 years.
Yeah.
So, something like that.
And as a young athlete putting on the togs, the Devondale togs, that must have been quite a moment.
Oh, yeah, like putting on those togs and just getting the uniform and, travelling around Australia, racing, it was pretty cool. That was the best of the best, and my goals then were very different to what they were towards the end. I was just happy to be there. I was happy to make the series and just be one of the numbers going around, being on TV. And then as the years went on, my goals changed. It might have been the first year just being there, then it was, okay, top 15, and then top top 10, then top 5, and then, you know, all I wanted to do was win.
Yep.
So, you know, just, you know, progressing as an athlete, and as the years went on, you know, your goals do change, and yeah.
Was there a point, Hayley, in that process of your goals changing and, you know, debut series through to seasoned end of your time in the sport, where you realised that you felt like, I've arrived and I really belong?
Yeah, I think there was just that point that, you know, confidence as well. I didn't have the years of swimming background, and you would know yourself that how you have to be a good swimmer, you have to have years under your belt to be a good swimmer. And a lot of these people I was racing against were really like Olympic level, Commonwealth Games level kind of swimmers, and you know, I hadn't had that experience in the pool, so it took me a few years to get the Ks under my belt, to actually match it with them and just have that confidence to run in the water and not be worried that they're going to catch me. So towards the end of my career, yes, I wasn't the fastest in the pool against some of them, but I actually stepped it up in the surf and felt confident running into the water, thinking, okay, I can hold this, I'm not going to be caught.
And in the series, Hayley, is there one round in particular that you stands out in your head as a memorable round of all the years, and you know the 4, 5, 6 events per series? You know, all the 6 normally as a minimum, I think.
Yeah.
One race in particular.
Yeah, definitely. It was just after my 30th birthday, the weekend after, and I raced at Kurrawa Beach, and at that time I was racing for Kurrawa, and I had 2 Kellogg's races, one on the Saturday and one on the Sunday, but one of them involved like 3 Ironwoman races in the day with short rest and going back out. I remember it flat conditions, and normally I like big surf, but this day was flat and really hot, and I think I got second on the Saturday and first on the Sunday. And yeah, it was just one of those weekends that I just raced really well. It was flat conditions, so it was all ability and fitness. And it stands out to me is because I remember laying in the water at the start going, oh my God, it's so hot. But I just really performed well. So yeah, that one is really memorable to me. And probably another one is when I burst my eardrum at Coolum, and that's when I had a really big lead of like 6 minutes. Me and Elise Bennett, I was in front of her too, but she wasn't far behind. And then we had 6-minute lead, so we'd lapped people. And then I rolled a big wave on the final leg. So it was like double swim, double ski, double board, long race. The last board leg going out, I snapped my board and burst my eardrum. So that's a pretty memorable moment to me, just going,
What did that feel like?
It was devastating because not only it was painful and burst my eardrum, but it meant I couldn't finish the race. My board was in half. I couldn't get it around the cans. Like, you have to go around the cans with it and then back in. And I was just like, went from I've won this race to can't even finish it. So that was devastating. And then I went to the hospital and everything, and the doctor said not to race.
The next day.
Yeah, the next day, because I had blood coming out of my ear and everything, burst eardrum. But
and what did you do?
I came back and raced, and it was big surf, so it meant I couldn't go under the waves to it. So I just had to, I was lucky, timed it pretty well. A few times had to go down a little bit, and that really hurt. And then coming in, I pulled off a big wave, which probably could have got me second, and I ended up third. So I still got third that next day. So that could have been a perfect weekend for me, but, you know, that's just the way it goes with our sport. Very lucky or unlucky.
So not being able to go under the waves, like that means paddling out in big surf, you were just going straight into the white water.
Yeah, so pretty much board and ski is okay because you go over them.
That's it,
But with the swim, I just had to kind of let them hit me a bit.
And not dive down and grab the sand.
And a bit of luck.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so, and I was lucky that I on the way out I didn't have to go under too many, and on the way in I just had to pull off one, which normally you wouldn't do. Yeah,
and I think I remember seeing you. I would have been watching on TV or however I saw it. You had your head taped up or bandaged?
Yeah, basically taped up to try to stop any water going into the ear. Yeah,
Get it in. And that's not the only time in your career, Hayley. I saw you race around with tape on your body. I think I remember seeing you run, or certainly will come to your shoulder, but running with that persistent foot injury you had for many years.
Yeah. So I had that plantar fasciitis, which is a horrible thing. I had that, God, for probably a year or something, but just real painful in the foot. And it's not actually that bad of an injury, but just very painful. So it ended up being the thing that fixed it was me actually rupturing it completely, and that was at a Kellogg's race running down the ramp.
So Hayley, when you said you ruptured the plantar fascia racing, what was that like? What did you feel?
Basically, it was like a snap. So I had to run up and down a ramp during the Kellogg's race at Surfers Paradise, and I remember just getting on the toe, and it just kind of like my heel went down, and it was almost like a bit of a snap to it, and it was really swollen and couldn't walk on it that day and that night. But then it actually felt better, less painful, even though it was worse of an injury then.
Yeah,
because it was ruptured. It actually felt better.
As in less painful?
Less painful, yeah. So, and then I guess that gave it a new healing response, and then it started to heal from that.
Yeah. How long after that, Hayley, before you could run without injury? Without pain, I should say.
To be honest, even now, if I run, I have to, be aware of it and tape it up a little bit sometimes if I was to run a lot now. So it has been a bit of a problem, but at the same time now I'm not competing. It hasn't bothered me too much. But if I wanted to, say, train for the marathon, I'd probably have to do a bit of work, bit of physio with it. And
Hayley, obviously competing over so many years in surf at such a high level. By the way, it wasn't the only thing that listeners would know you from. I think we should go here now. Actually, that's your time in Gladiators. For the listeners that aren't familiar with Gladiators was a televised series back in the 90s, and it was I think watched by almost all of Australia on a weekend. And Hayley, you played which gladiator?
Yeah, so it was in the 90s, and then they brought it back in 2008, and then that's when I...
you wouldn't have been on the 90s. You would have been on 8 or 9, sorry.
So basically, I was Nitro in the 2008 Australian Gladiators, and I used to watch it as a kid and love the show, and thought, I'd love to be on that one day.
And so how did that come about?
And then going back to that too, I saw Carla Gilbert, who I looked up to. She was actually a competitor on it, a celebrity one. One of these days I watched it. Oh, how cool would that be? And then it was 2008. I actually got a call up to ask if I wanted to try out to actually be a gladiator. And I was like, oh, that'd be cool. And so I did all this like physical challenge kind of stuff. And and then I got like interviewed and shortlisted, and then next thing I'm on the show. So that was awesome. I had a year off competing as an Ironwoman, but only from the Kellogg series, and just had that year break and went and lived in Sydney for 4 months and filmed the show. And then basically I came back with hardly any swimming. I did a couple of 2K swims on my own here and there, which is nothing for an Ironwoman, but I still did my running and did a lot of weights and stuff, and obviously the challenges of the gladiators. Then came back to the Gold Coast, raced state titles and Aussie titles, and actually raced really well. So what I'd lost in endurance, I gained in strength. So I remember just like doing the state titles, I won the Ironwoman, and I just had so much power in the ski.
Wow.
Just bam off the beach. So it was awesome. I didn't lose anything.
So what's one story from the Gladiators time that sticks in your mind you want to share?
Oh, well, the first event I was doing the rings, so that was probably one of the hardest one, swinging on those rings, because people just think, oh, the person's to your side, I'll just go there and capture them. But you can't just change direction on these swinging rings. So to change direction, you'd have to actually miss a ring to grab another ring, which was further away, and then that would slow you up enough to change direction and grab a different one.
Yeah.
So it was really quite hard. And then the first episode, I caught the girl and jumped onto her straight away and ripped her off. It's not very nice because it rips your hands apart.
Yeah.
And we landed and I broke her rib. So, you know, she was a really nice girl too, so that wasn't too good, but I won.
You were just doing your job. We'll try and listeners hook up if we can find some footage of this. We'll hook it up in the show notes, so have a look online there.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
For Hayley in action, or Nitro in action. What did that do to your profile nationally?
Yeah, definitely boost my profile, having that show, and just, you know, all the kids love watching it, and it was good just to do something different. You know, it wasn't like Iron Men and Iron Women at that era to do something different. You just kind of stay and do what you know, and you can't miss this and can't miss that. So it was good to do something different, and I see a few people are doing that now. Courtney Hancock's done a show, Celebrity Get Me Out of There, Here or whatever.
Yep.
Kane's doing his chin-up thing. So, yeah, it's good to see people doing a few different things.
I think it's great for the sport of surf lifesaving in terms of profile, the athletes like yourself and Kane and Courtney doing those things. I think it brings attention onto it, where it's certainly I think needed in some ways. If we look at the boom times through I think back to the Uncle Toby's times, where it was, you guys were national names and household names, and and Nutrigrain times. I think there's a lot of competition for viewing now, but I think having athletes like yourselves do different things really helps. Would you agree? Yeah,
definitely, I'd agree. And back in those days, it was the series investing in that, with the Iron Man band and all these different things that travel around Australia, different promotions. And these days, it's the athletes having to do it themselves.
Hayley, would you agree that athletes like yourself doing these things helps to boost the profile of the sport?
Yeah, definitely. These days, I think you have to take a lot of it into your own control with self-promotion, social media, all those kind of things, because the series just isn't investing in the athletes as much these days. So I think that's why there's a big drop in profiles and stuff, because there isn't the money spent on it. So, you have to, if you want to do well at it, and you have to do self-promotion, doing other things, like I said, the chin-up thing, doing a TV show, just to bring up your profile and, be able to keep doing what you love. Yeah,
and certainly a future upcoming guest will be Brad Bevan, who went around the triathlon circuit through the 90s, and, household name in that era, and triathletes, competing on the same stage this era, as the dollars aren't there in a national televised series, and it's the same sort of thing, to try and boost profile. So it's interesting times, I think, in multisport. Yeah, definitely.
And I knew Brad as well, and I was a bit of a fan of his, and then I actually got to race alongside him one year. We had a series called the One Series, and we had swimmers, volleyballers, triathletes, and Iron women and men. And we all raced in the same weekend, like the summer series. It was really cool, actually.
Where was that race?
That was all around as well. Like, it was like we all raced together, like separate events, but we're all...
So, I get it. So you weren't racing an Ironman race. It was all in one pool.
Yeah, basically, we all went to Cronulla and we all raced. So it'd be the triathlon, and then it'd be...
the Ironman women.
And they used to bring a portable pool.
That's cool, isn't it? So, he's hoping that we see some of those innovations in multisport again. I think the athletes are too good to not have the profiles. Hayley, tell me about, during your time of training, the one session that you just didn't like. One training session. One session. Was there one session where you ticked over and, oh my gosh?
Oh, God.
Or was there more than one?
Yeah, I loved it, there'd have to be sessions that I didn't like. If I said I didn't like it, then afterwards I would have liked it. Yeah. So I remember doing a couple of track sessions, and it'd be after swimming 7Ks in the pool and straight to the track and doing 24 400s, stuff like that.
Yep.
At the time, and your coach say you got 24 400s running, you'd be like, oh, I'm going to hate it. You might have a spew, all of that. But then you walk away loving it.
Yeah, so it's a love-hate, right? Hayley, is there a moment in your career or through your career, was there a moment where you were at the crossroads of continuing on? I know later in the back half of the year, shoulder, you underwent some shoulder surgeries.
Yeah. Definitely with that, yeah. So I stayed in Ironwoman racing right up to the end of my career because I loved it. A lot of people told me to go to triathlon. Parts of me, kind of wish I gave it a go, why my shoulder was good. But at the same time, it was obvious that I loved surf lifesaving, so that kept me there. But the last 5 years of my career, I had a shocking shoulder. I had four shoulder surgeries, and I had 3 while still racing, and pretty much I decided to pull out of the last series, and the next day I had shoulder surgery for the last time, and yeah, that was it for me. So yeah, the shoulder kind of took away those last few years, but I still got podium finishes with a bung shoulder, so it was shocking. The last series I raced, could hardly pull my arm through the water in the swim, hardly did any training, but I was lucky enough to have some big surf events, and just, I guess, having that skill and experience, I was able to still go well. So if I'd had like a flat conditions that last series, I would have been shocking because I just didn't have the fitness or the strength in the shoulder to be able to go stroke after stroke. But by having that big surf, it broke it up by going under a wave, a few strokes, under here, a few strokes, that helped.
And I recall those years working with you in the physiotherapy room at that stage, and I was amazed the day you pulled a podium, a third at Surfers Paradise in Big Surf, knowing what you were working through in terms of the shoulder post-surgeries, and also with your Coolangatta Gold, your final appearances there. So I think there's so much that often athletes are working through in the background that isn't evident to people looking on.
Yeah, definitely. I've had a few injuries in my career, and, I remember, people just thinking, oh yeah, it's not that bad, or, that's just my competitors, wanting to say stuff like that. But I knew how bad it was. I knew that I couldn't train and be the athlete that I knew I was, and I kind of struggled with that being a nipper coach, and pardon me.
Right.
And training the nippers, and then the other kids seeing that I wasn't training, the way that I used to, having to cut sessions short, just do half of it, stuff like that. But that's all I could handle, and it wasn't me, and I wasn't enjoying it like that, and so I had to kind of give it up.
How did you process that mentally? Transitioning or getting to that realisation that, okay, maybe this won't get back to where we were.
It was hard for me, to make that decision. Every day was a new day for me. I'd go, oh, maybe it'll be good in the morning. And I used to say that to myself all the time, and it wasn't. I'd turn up to training and try to swim a few laps and then get out.
So, Hayley, that went on for how long? The getting up every day hoping it was better?
So I struggled with it for 5 years, had the first shoulder surgery, good for 6 months. Then it was bad again. It wasn't even good, but it was a little bit better. And then had the second shoulder surgery. It was good for 6 months. I was going, sweet, going well. Then it hurt again. And then the third shoulder surgery, I got another 6 months, I think. And then it was like just before the Coolangatta Gold. It was 3 days before it cracked it again. And I was going really well. I won the trial. I had to trial again because of the shoulder. Won the trial easily, felt strong. And then it went on me again. So, and then that last one, I had a shoulder surgery and it did nothing.
Yeah. So is there a particular day or time where you went, I'm going to hang up the togs?
Yeah, I just remember going to swimming, and it was getting close to the series, and I had to make a decision. I didn't want to race another series like that, and I knew by me pulling out it gave enough time for someone else to be able to race as well. So it was kind of like, doing the right thing as well. And I just went, it was kind of like relief. I just went, you know what, that's it. And pulled out. I literally texted my surgeon that day and said, okay, I'm ready tomorrow. So I know it was a Monday because he said, I can get you in on a Tuesday, just let me know. And bang, I was in that next morning and got my surgery.
Wow. And you notified the series and...
Yeah, let them know. Did all that. Did press that day and then had the surgery the next day, and it's recovered really well. I'm pain-free sitting here. So I had 5 years of in pain, constant pain. So... and it's so good to sit here without a sore shoulder. I was constantly poking and prodding at my shoulder, pulling here. The pain would be, tricep and down the lower lat. It'd be everywhere, it'd be in the forearm. Yeah, it's not a nice way to be living, with pain.
So when you did the press, was that quite emotional?
Yeah.
Or at that stage were you over it because you're like, oh my gosh, this shoulder?
Yeah, it was more relief for me. It wasn't, it wasn't too much emotion at all. It was taken away from me before I was ready. But at the same time, I probably would have still been doing the same thing now. And, you can't do the same thing forever. So, I don't have any regrets. Yeah,
that's a great way to end such a long and, sustained, high-achieving career. Now, you said now, what's life look like now for Hayley Bateup? Beautiful son?
Yes, I have a beautiful little boy named Baxter, and he's one on the 2nd of July. So, he's great. I just love it. Yeah, it's been the best year of my life. So doing everything I've done's been awesome, but having him is just amazing. So he's awesome. I'm running Hayley Bateup's Body Blitz, which is my personal training business.
Yep.
Group outdoor training.
And you're on a couple of locations on the Gold Coast?
Yeah, I'm running one out of Southport and most of the classes out of Currumbin.
Yep.
And probably will end up running them in more places in years to come. And also I'm a firefighter now, so I've been doing that since August last year. I got into recruits there and I'm a firefighter at Southport. So that's been something I wanted to do eventually. And after I retired, I thought, okay, well, now it's time. I can get into that, and having the two jobs is really good. And
what was the process like to get into the firefighting world?
Yeah, really hard. So they're encouraging women to be in the job, but they it's really hard to get in. So it's like they encourage girls to try out, but you've got to be as good as the guys to get in. Yep. So it's hard. There's at a time they just opened it for another week not long ago, and there was 5,000 applicants. Wow. And then there was 9,000 people waiting. They had it shut off. And it's very tough to get in. Just all the testing you have to do, and then once you're in. Yeah, I lived in Brisbane for 4 months, and the study was full on. So. Yeah, and they're really tough on you to make sure you're the right person to come through. And 3 guys didn't make it through in my recruit course. So,
and have you encountered any resistance being female and getting so close that you were about there? And were there a few egos?
Yeah, there is. It's a bit like that still. I think too, because predominantly it'd be more men trying out than women. But they only want the right women for the job. They're not just, they don't just let any bloke get through. Yeah. And it's the same with the women as well. So they encourage women to try out. So, I know a lot of people that'd be good at the job. Yeah. And, but it is super hard to get in. And, you just got to make sure you do the job just as good as anybody else, and there shouldn't be any problems. But, there is always going to be that in the world there, because it used to be just a man's job. Yeah. But things are changing, and it's like the police now, you just don't even bat an eyelid, women in the job. They've been there forever. So
good on you, Hayley. Good on you. It's not unlike you to not break new ground.
Yeah.
Hayley, in terms of your bucket list, what's on your bucket list for personally and anything sporting?
Yeah. I haven't really got a bucket list, so I should. But, I've been doing cycle racing now, road racing. I've done a few of those races. But then I did an event recently, and I was racing along and going, you know what, I don't know if I'm really enjoying this today. And then after that I thought, I might enjoy my retirement a little bit more. So I'm just enjoying life a little bit. I've been a bit sick lately, so normally I'd be stressing out big time if I'm sick, but it doesn't really matter, I have some time off, it doesn't really matter. So maybe a couple of mountain bike races or adventure race, cycle cross, I might do something like that.
Can't imagine you sitting idle for too long. Hayley, what's one bit of advice you'd give to people who are looking to perform at their physical best, whatever the pursuit?
I guess don't overtrain. That's a big one. I overtrained a few years there with different coaches, and you just get slower. I guess do what you're passionate about, and make sure you do all the little things. So like rehab, I had problems with my shoulders, and I didn't have problems with my shoulders when I was younger, but looking at it now, I'm a real like loose muscle kind of person. I'm really stretchy, so looking at it, if I had that information now, I would have done more work, band work, all those kind of little exercises that are annoying, things like that, more recovery. So yeah, just if you want to keep going and with what you love, is to make sure that you do the, rehab, all those little tiny things.
Little things that aren't so little.
Yes, that can become something really big and can ruin your career. So yeah.
Hayley Bateup, thanks for coming in and sharing so openly. And listeners, you'll be able to find Hayley on social media, and Hayley in the Bateup's Body Blitz link as well in the show notes. So jump over there and let Hayley know you've listened into the episode, and tune in for the next episode of the Physical Performance Show. Thanks again, Hayley.
Thanks, Brad.
So, there you have it. I trust you enjoyed this episode of the Physical Performance Show with Hayley Bateup. I'd love it if you could jump over to iTunes and leave a review if you enjoyed the show. If you have any questions or comments regarding today's show or guest, please shoot them over to my Twitter account. You'll find me at Brad_beer. Hope you're enjoying the Olympic Games. What a tremendous week it's been, and looking forward to more great memories from the 2016 Rio Olympic Games in the coming days. Now, if you'd like more physical performance tips, be sure to jump over to pogophysio.com.au and subscribe to our weekly Pogo Press. When you do that, you'll also get yourself 2 free chapters of my Amazon running and jogging bestseller, You Can Run Pain-Free. Coming up in next week's episode of the Physical Performance Show, I have a chat with a young lady who's done remarkable things. She's literally scaled heights that few people on the planet get to scale. Young Alicia Azar just months ago became the youngest Australian to ever summit Mount Everest. And she's going to join us to have a chat about all things mountaineering and what it takes to climb Mount Everest. So until next time, keep pursuing your physical best performance. I'm Brad Beer, and this has been the Physical Performance Show.